Sounds good. Then we'll go ahead and take a look at the items. So here I'm just going to click on the item shortcut. And what I was referencing earlier is here you could bookmark the window. So you'll see this one's currently bookmarked, and that's why it shows up in my home page. But if there's any other window that you want to bookmark, you could simply click on the bookmark window and it will show it in your home page. Now here we have a list of your items. They've been integrated over from GP to Business Central. The only may be that the numbers are truncated at 20 characters. So if there's any items that were larger than 20 characters, then you may notice that the ID is shorter now. That's one of the differences between GP and Business Central, but for the most part, all your items should be listed here. We do have some other quantities. So here I could sort the list by quantity and see the information of some of the items that we currently have in stock in the system. Same thing here. You always have open in Excel if you want to export an item list or anything like that. If you want to search, you do have a way to search. It will search among all the different fields that are available here. Or you also have a filter option. So here in the filter pane, I could start a filter somewhat like smart list, you could say. So I could search by specific number or anything with a quantity in hand greater than 0, anything like that, you could do so here. So I could do anything greater than 0, and it will filter my list so it only has stuff with, let me tab off. So it only shows me stuff with things that are in stock here. So that way you could have a certain view, and then here you could always save that view. So next time you go in, you could simply just look for the only things in stock or something like that. So here we'll go ahead and take a look at one of the items here. So here's your typical item card. Once you go ahead and open it, there is a section here to add any pictures if you'd like to do so, or if there's any attachments, any fact sheets or any information related to the item. And then you also have a links and notes section that you could add more information for any of the items. Now I could simply also click here and collapse the fact box to give us a little bit more space here in the window. But here, the main section here would be our item information. So the basic information, the item number, the description, the type. So in this case, we have inventory service or non-inventory items, and then your base unit of measure. And then we also brought over them category code, which would be your item class within GP. Any of these, what we call fast tabs, you could always show more. So there's other fields that are sometimes hidden, depending on fields that are not commonly used, but you could always show more or show less in any one of these. The next section is our inventory section. So it shows our current stock levels, shows any quantities on purchase orders, on sales orders. And then it also has, if there's any jobs or assemblies, then you'll also see that information here. Anytime you could always go down here on any of these quantities, see any activities. So here we see our initial adjustment, and then some test transactions I booked earlier. There's a sales shipment, and then a purchase receipt that was entered. So you could see the detail, and then you could see the remaining amount on it. This cost layer was consumed, and then how much you have left over. Now the next section is our costing section. So here we have the different costing methods that you could select from. There's a variety of options available. The unit cost, any of these, like anytime you see a hyperlink, you could always go down, see more of the detail of the different costs that were booked under the different cost layers, and find that detailed directly on here as well. And then one of the differences between Business Central and GP is that what we have here is what we call posting groups. Posting groups are pretty much the default accounts. They're going to be used anytime a transaction is booked for either any of our master records. So in this case, our product posting group, that's broken down by category, but these will have the accounts that will be used anytime this transaction is anytime this item is used. So our sales account, our cost of goods sold, anything like that, you'll find that that information will be stored by posting group. So it's sort of like a default accounts for each item, but it's stored in groups. So that information's there, and then that's pretty much what the accounts are going to be used whenever we use the transaction. Now under prices and sales, you could enter a unit price, which I populated just for example here, but you could put in that amount. And also there's ways for you to create special pricing or discounts for any specific type of customer group, or so you could set up by customer price list, and then or if it's a general price for all customers, or if you have a campaign for a certain period of time, you could also just select the campaign option and it will allow you to use your starting and ending dates, for example. Now the next few section here is more for purchasing, so replenishment. You could say what type of replenishment you're doing. So if it's something you purchase, if you have a default vendor, you can enter that vendor information here. And then you also have a planning section, which you could set up different reordering policies so that you can have the system recommend you when to purchase certain items and so forth. So if you populate this information, then we could use what we call the requisition worksheet in the system so the system can recommend how much we should order of any given good. The last two section here is item tracking. If there's any serial lot tracking, this is where we would have that information. And then the warehousing is really not relevant, but that's the different sections that we have here available. Now for any of the items here under the navigate menu, you have the history. So you could see ledger entries would be the history of any of the any transaction that has been booked to this item. So you could see all the history. So here, like before I said, you could always you could see the information, or you could even rearrange columns here as needed, make them bigger, smaller, depending on what you like. And then you could always navigate if you want to drill down even further to see what this transaction was about. I could pull up the specific entry and see, okay, it was a purchase order from this vendor or so forth. Now there's also here availability. If you currently, I believe you just have one main location, but if you had different locations, you could do items by location and then see a breakdown of how much we have in stock in like in Maine. Unspecified, it would be if we, for some reason, we didn't put an item at a location, but in this case, it always shows as an unspecified field. So here we could see we have 4 of these in our main location and so forth. So you could always see more detail of any of these items by location.